Hello everyone, welcome. In today's video, we're going to be looking at how you can get a couple more miles per hour out of your Honda Metropolitan or Ruckus. This is a 2009 Honda Metro. The only upgrades that I have on it right now are a cold air intake and a bigger jet. So we're going to be trying out the Polini high-speed Variator and see what that does. And we'll be running the two tests side by side so you guys can see if it really makes a difference to you. So as I said, the only upgrade that I have on this is kind of like a cold air intake, or like an air intake. So it's right here. Put a little pod filter on there and it goes straight to the carb. For most of the kits that the websites sell to put like an air intake on this, they usually include filters for these hoses, but instead I just ran the hoses up into this box to keep them out of the way, and in here they're filtered, so we don't really need to worry about that. There's 5 hoses total that connect to the original air intake. 2 of them you don't really need, so you just take those off and either block them off or just leave them. So on the original air intake, there's a bracket for this fender, if you guys can see that inner fender. When you take off that air intake, that fender dangles against the wheel. So you either can take off that inner fender, but then there's dirt spraying all over your engine and carb, and it just turns into a mess. Or you can do what I did and make a little aluminum bracket for it. I just bent a piece of aluminum and then tapped it and then put the original bolt through there, and then it mounts into here, right into this back mount on here. You can use the OEM bolts for that too. So that keeps it off the tire, so the tire doesn't rub on that inner fender, and it still keeps all of the stuff on the engine free of dirt. And this route is a heck of a lot cheaper than getting one of those kits from like the Ruckus shop or any of those. And none of those kits even come with like a bracket like this, so I just recommend you do it yourself and save a couple pennies and learn a little bit in the experience. I just got a radiator hose from the O'Reilly's, and then a little $14 Amazon filter. I'll have both these parts linked down in the description so you can do it yourself. For jet sizing, I put an 83 jet on here, and that seems to be the perfect mix. It's not too lean and it's not too rich. It really doesn't do much performance-wise. Like top speed doesn't change at all. Maybe improves like hill climbing a mile per hour. The only thing it really does is make it sound better. So when it's just idling, you can't really hear a difference at all. But then okay, so now we're going to swap on this Polini Variator. It's pretty easy. I'll show you guys how to do it. So the first thing you're going to want to take off is that cover on the CVT. There's 5 8mm bolts you got to take off, and that'll remove that front cover. And just like that, the front cover is off. Now if you've just ridden this thing, that thing is really hot. All the parts inside it are really hot. So either put on some gloves or touch it with something else besides your hands. Now the Polini Variator replaces this front portion right here. So you have to get a 17mm socket, and it helps to use an impact to take this off because it's connected directly to the motor, so it spins. And then that bolt comes off, and there's a washer that comes off, and then another washer that comes off. Then after that, you can take off this part right here, and you will be reusing this part. Okay, so after you have this drive face off, then it helps to squeeze the belt with your hands, and then take that belt off so it's just dangling there. Next, you're going to take off your Variator. So if you don't grab it from the back, so like right now if it's hot, all the roller weights are going to come flying off. so just beware of that. To set up your variator, your new Polini one, you're gonna take it out of the box, and it comes with 6.5 gram or 6.9 gram rollers and 5.6 gram rollers. I'm gonna be going with the lighter of the two because I'm a lighter person. I don't believe it matters what way you put these in. You just plop them in there. Okay, so it's just like this. So all the roller weights are in there in their little columns. If you can see it just like that. Next, you're going to get out this bag with these three things in there. And you're gonna get out this. So you're gonna take, see there's two sides of these. There's that side, and then there's that side. So the smaller side, put the smaller side facing that way. Then you're gonna take this with the smaller side still facing this way and put it right on over that so that it's a one complete unit and those weights aren't flying around. Now what you're gonna do is take this last package with the new spacer in there. And throw that right into here. So it sits there just like that. Now you're gonna slide this whole unit back onto the crankshaft, making sure that this side is sticking out towards you. So you should still be able to see this part from the outside, and this part will go on the inside against the motor. I have some troubles putting this belt on, and to get it looser, again, squeeze it, and then it should be able to fit over. Should be able to fit over this drive sprocket belly, drive sprocket type thing. Now you're gonna take your drive face that you just took off and put it back on. Once you got your, I don't know what that'd be called, the drive face thing on there, then you're gonna take your biggest washer with the spikes facing outwards, throw it back on there. Then you're gonna take your small washer and then finally your bolt. And then you're gonna take your impact, tighten it back on there, making sure not to over tighten it and strip it off. Now I like to use a little bit of blue Loctite and put it on those threads so that the whole variator doesn't come off when you're driving. You're good to go. You can slap this cover back on, putting those 6 8mm bolts back on there, and then you're ready to rip it again. One test before you put on your cover again, I would start it up and run it. It won't hurt anything to run it without this, so don't worry about that. I just wouldn't ride it around all the time without that cover on because dirt could get in there. You don't want that to happen. So I'm going to start it up, make sure nothing falls off, and then we'll put that cover back on. Okay, so luckily it didn't come off, everything is fine. But I have in the past, I don't know what I've done wrong, but I've put on a part just a little bit wrong, and then that whole front part comes flying off and spinning around all over the garage. So that's why you want to test it without the cover on first. So if that does happen to you, I would just put it on again the same way that you did, but maybe twist a little something, and that's what always worked for me. So we're going to be running the same test on the stock variator versus the Polini Variator. Just going on a couple roads by my house, and I'll put them side by side so you guys can see if the results change. Okay, now to the question that you're all wondering, did it really make a difference? And my answer to that would be yes. The Variator did make a pretty big difference. It gave us a 4 mile per hour increase in top speed. So we got around 46 miles per hour, but that was going down a hill, of course, not on flat ground. On flat ground, this thing can hit like 42 compared to just like the stock version hit about 40. So if that extra 2 or 6 miles per hour is important to you, yeah, it's definitely worth it. But everything on these mopeds is weight related. So even if say you're 50 pounds heavier than the other person riding it, your moped is going to be slower if you're heavier. I do have another moped that we put a NCY CDI box and another Polini Variator. I can do a video on that too if you'd like. Spoiler alert that the NCY CDI box and Polini Variator together don't do much. You really only need one or the other, because on the CDI box it'll basically make that top speed about 45 or 46, and that obviously is what the Polini Variator does as well. So the two together aren't very good. So if it was up to me, I would just stick with the Polini Variator. Don't even worry about the CDI box.